the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have a special guest. He's a retired fire captain, transformational public speaker, life and leadership coach, no other than Mr. Rick Cheatham.
Hello.
Welcome to Book 101, Mr. Rick. And can you please introduce more about yourself?
Sure. Real quick, I've got music in the background. Is that supposed to be there?
Yes, as
Okay.
our
I mean, it's pretty
intro.
loud. It's pretty loud on my side. So let me.
Here we go.
I'll turn it down a little bit. All right. So what was that you asked me now?
Can you please introduce more about yourself?
Sure. Okay. Like you said, my name is Rick Cheatham. I'm a retired fire captain with the city of Anaheim. Spent 25 years on the front lines of EMS and first responders. A Retired in 2020 and moved to Nashville, Tennessee, where I currently reside. And my story kind of encompasses a lot of my journey through the fire service and after the fire service. And where it really started was back when I met my wife. I prayed for a woman that was exactly the spitting image of what I prayed for when she walked into our church building 2 weeks after I prayed for her. And then 6 months later, we were married. So it was one of those things where I really felt like my wife was an answered prayer. Unfortunately, 10 years into our marriage, she got to the place because of my indiscretions. Um, she got to a place where she hated me, God, and the church. And she said, I quit. And she was done with me. She was walking out the door with two small boys, and I was left to try to figure out what was going to happen. And so I got a life coach myself. I got um, a coach, a mentor that for the next 3.5 years walked me through a sexual addiction that nearly destroyed our marriage. Fortunately, we were able to walk through it, and within 3 years, we gave birth to a little girl. We called her Victoria because of our victorious marriage, and therein lies the beginning of uh, my journey into personal development and life coaching. Started using the skill sets that were taught to me by my mentor and coach to help other men navigate through pornography issues that they were dealing with in their lives and their marriages. And that led into about I say about a 5 year window where we were developing a course with men struggling with addiction through our church, where they would call us when they had marriages that were what they would call the 911 marriages, marriages in severe stress and needing help. And so my wife and I would step in there, and then we'd start working with the couple to restore or at least help guide them through the maze of addiction. Now, that was all fine and good until about 2013, 1 week before Christmas, when we got the knock at the door that every parent dreads. And it was the Riverside County Sheriff's Department letting us know that our son Michael, our oldest son Michael, had been murdered that night. And that caused me to just pull away from all of the coaching that I was doing at the time. And we spent the next, well, it's been 11 years now. It's going to be coming up on 12. But so we spent the last 11 years working through that. Now, when I retired, and moved to Nashville, Tennessee. 5 months after I retired, I fell and I broke my neck at C4 and C5 and was left paralyzed from the chest down, having to learn how to walk again, how to care for myself again. And that's been a 4 year journey just in that event alone. So I've got this combination in my 50s where I lost my son in my early 50s. I break my neck in my late 50s. And now here I am in my early 60s and trying to put all the pieces back together, and finally got to a place where I'm ready to turn it back into coaching and helping other men navigate their own issues in life, their own adversities, their own struggles, their own trials, their own conflicts. And so what that allowed me to do is pour into the teachings that I was taught back when I was transferring through the addiction cycles, and start to put those mindset practices back into place once again, dealing with grief and then trauma that nearly killed me and left me paralyzed. And so now I use all of those tools that I've developed over the years, the experiences that we've had. My wife and I are now ready to, this next year, we'll be celebrating 40 years of marriage. So we not only were able to navigate through a marriage that was ready to quit after 10 years in a very strong way, but we've navigated through the grief of our son, and we've also navigated through the trauma of my neck. And that's what I now get to do with other men. I get to pour into their lives and help guide them through their adversities.
Mr. Rick, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge to the world. What does it mean to find the gift in adversity from your perspective as a coach?
All right. We all deal with adversity. Your audience, everybody. If you're born into this world, you're going to deal with adversity. You're going to deal with circumstances that are not always, doesn't always to appear favorable. You will deal with conflicts. So when dealing with adversities, we get two choices. Choice one is we can look at the adversity through the lens of a victim. And in that case, what we do is we look through it through the lens of fear. And whenever we look through life through the lens of fear, we become immobilized. We start to doubt. We start to look at past experiences of our life. And those past experiences are the thoughts that are ruminating in our minds. And as we ruminate on those thoughts, we start to create more of the same for our future. As a man thinks, so is he. So we start to create the very future that we're focused on. We don't get the life we want, we get the life we're focused on. And if we're focused on the past experiences that are being negative and life is happening to you, then you become we become victimized. And that's where I was after the loss of my son and the broken neck. I became a victim of my circumstances. And I started to doubt and I started to fear and I started to look at the past and going, man, why me? What happened? What did I do? What did I do to deserve this? Did I do something wrong? And I started to ask all these questions that kept me stuck in that mindset of why did this happen to me? How unfair is it that life can hit me with the death of my son and then 7 years later, a broken neck? And it just felt like things were so unfair. So I started to become a victim of my circumstances. And by becoming that victim, I started to create a narrative that life was not fair. I was creating the narrative that I didn't deserve this. I started to create the narrative of why is this happening to me and my family? And that kept me stuck until I decided to put the practices that I had learned through my addiction 30 years ago into practice. And one of the key points of doing that is looking at adversity through a different lens. And that lens is through the lens of love or the lens of faith. What that does is it's always looking forward to something that's going to be better in the future. There's always a better tomorrow. There's going to be a better future for you if you would just have the faith and the love and the courage to move towards that. So, in a nutshell, by looking at those adversities through those two lenses, when you do it through fear, you become victimized. But when you do it through love, you start to look for the gifts that are in the adversity. And so when you can start to look at the gift from the perspective of what is this teaching me? What can I learn? How can I become a better version of myself having gone through this experience? And that opens the doors to an incredible opportunity to be faithful in how you address your adversity. And I don't mean faithful from the standpoint of religion. I mean faithful in the standpoint of taking actions to move forward in something that you don't yet have, but you expect it in the future so you can act as though you already have it today. And so looking at those gifts, one of which is my broken neck. So let's look at that. Through that adversity, I was laid up for 3 months in the hospital, couldn't walk, couldn't take care of myself, and started to realize that I may end up being like this for the rest of my life. And how am I going to find a gift in that? Well, the gift was this: it caused me to slow down, reevaluate, recalibrate where I was headed in life, and then reassess everything that had gone on. And I made the decision that all that was helping me and teaching me something about myself. And it taught me that even a broken neck, even the adversities of something that traumatic, if you look at it through the lens of what gift I can find, and my gift was I was able to finally connect with who I really was and what I can offer this world. If it wasn't for the broken neck, I would have probably just been retired, swinging a hammer somewhere, and really not pouring into men and women across this nation who are dealing with their own adversities. My son's death, our family was going through a lot of trials and trauma at the time. And one of the biggest gifts that I got through my son's death was that um, it really opened the door to our family to be reconnected at a level that we had never been connected before. Adversities like that can cause you to do a couple of things. It could destroy your family, or it could really bring your family together. And what it did for us is it brought us together. And then, when I talk about the adversities of the addiction that I went through, if I had not gone through that, I would have never been able to experience my wife's unconditional love for me. And when she was able to forgive me for what I had done to her, um, it gave me an opportunity to see just how blessed I was to have a gift like this woman who would walk through that storm with me instead of rejecting me. Now, don't get me wrong. If I had not put in the effort to do the work, she would have left me. There's no doubt about it. But I didn't want my marriage to dissolve. I wanted to learn from this experience and I wanted to grow through it, but I just didn't know how to do it at the time. But because she was able to forgive me, um, it gave me an opportunity. Now, fast forward several years when my son was murdered, it gave me the opportunity to extend the same kind of grace and forgiveness for the man that did the unforgivable. Um, and I was able to forgive him. And once I was able to forgive this man, it released this burden within inside of me. A lot of times people refer to forgiveness as a poison, or the lack of forgiveness, the resentment that comes along with it as a poison that runs through your veins, and it kills you. It kills you with animosity, with anger, with bitterness, and you have the life that has this undertone of anger and resentment. And one thing I've learned through this journey is you're never justified to hold on to resentment. And even if that resentment is towards the man that murdered your son, even if that resentment is towards the husband that betrayed you, even if that resentment is towards the incident that caused you to break your neck and be paralyzed, regardless of what happens in life, regardless of the challenge or the adversity, there is always a lesson to be learned for your growth, for your benefit, for your purpose. And when you can capture that blessing or capture that gift, life becomes full of gratitude. And when you live a life of gratitude, anything is possible. The flip side of that coin is when you're not grateful for what you have, you become more angry, bitter, and resentful. And that's what leads us to that victim mentality where life is happening to us instead of for us.
Mr. Rick, what are some practical steps someone can take to uncover the hidden gift in their struggles?
Well, first of all, we have to understand how our mind works. Our mind is it makes its purpose is to make meaning of things. So whatever experiences we have, we then internalize that, we make meaning of it. And that meaning that we give, whatever circumstance we're in, is in our control. So we can change that meaning if we decide to or if we choose to. So the main purpose or the main events that I have when I help guys now today is I take aim. I take aim at the life you want. So it's an acronym, AIM. A stands for accepting 100% responsibility for the way that you are making meaning of the event that you're in. So you take 100% responsibility for the meaning that you make, whatever experience you're in. The second thing is that once you've taken accepted that responsibility, then every moment of every day, in that present moment, you are faced with the ability to make choices. So, right now, we're in the present moment of this interview, and I have the choice to stay in the interview or to kick out of the interview. But I'm staying in it, of course. But in that present moment, we're faced with a choice. And that choice requires us to make it with intention. So, the I of the acronym A is to have intention for the choices that you make in the present moment. And the more intentional you are about the choices you make, the more uh, the more opportunities you have to find those core gifts in that adversity. And then once we transfer through the state of intention, we go to mind shifting or mindset, and that's through meditation and really honing in to who we are with our creator and what our purpose is and what we're being taught through those processes. So that's what I come up with. It's a three-step process: taking aim, taking absolute responsibility for how you interpret your circumstances, make every present moment choice with intention, and then finally meditation and mind shifting.
Very well said, Mr. Rick. Very well said. How do you help people balance honoring their pain without becoming trapped in it?
Well, and like I said, the pain is how we make is the meaning we give to it. So, when you're talking about psychology, you're talking about how our brains work. Um, we've got to be very mindful that we and have control over how we make meaning of this event. And so to look at it through the lens of what is the lesson I can learn, what gift can I find, and how will this help me become a better person? When you start asking those types of questions in your adversity, your mind will automatically find the answers. See, the beautiful thing about our minds are this: whatever question you ask your mind will seek that answer. So if your questions are, why is this happening to me? What did I do to deserve this? Where's the maker? Where's my creator? Where'd he go? Why am I feeling like this? See, we start asking the wrong questions. The mind's going to find the answer to even those wrong questions. And the difference between the right question and the wrong question is, what is the outcome you're looking for? What intention do you want from these questions? Do you want to find the gift? Do you want to find the way through it? Or would you rather just stay stuck where you are by asking the questions that are indicative of being victimized by your circumstance? And so, what I do, and I've taught many men to do, is just instead of asking the questions of why me, ask, how can this make me better? What can I learn in this adversity? And where will this lead me when I take these steps? And is that someplace I want to go? So you just got to start asking the right questions.
Mr. Rick, what will be your short term and long term goals as life and leadership coach?
Well, my short-term goals are just to continue with the coaching, one-on-one coaching that I have with the men that are in my program. Long term, my wife and I are looking to create a marriage retreat for firefighters. So I come out of the firefighting industry, and many of our members are suffering with post-traumatic stress at levels there where suicides are now that equal to combat veterans. And it's rather sad to see that the heroes that are called to go out and make a difference in today's world, because of the trauma that they're seeing out there, are falling to suicides just like a combat veteran would be after they come back. And so my wife and I are really focused in on the future goals of creating a place, a safe environment where firefighters and their families can come and really talk through and create an environment and a community where they can heal together in a positive way so that they can have the greatest impact on not only their lives but on the lives of their family and the next generation, the legacy to come.
Good luck to your goals, Mr. Rick. And what would be your advice for those people out there who want to be like you as a coach?
Say that again. I'm not sure I understand that question.
What would be your advice for those people that want to be a coach like you?
Oh, well, use your adversity and your trauma to your benefit. Don't let your adversities go without learning the valuable lessons that life has for us. Uh, don't focus on the pain. Don't focus on the adversity. Focus on the lessons to be learned, or in other words, focus on finding the gift that will make you better. And when you can do that, you can then start to help other people in their adversities. You know, a lot of us is just navigating life as a lighthouse. You know, when you've been through as much as I have, and as much as many people, I'm not alone in this. Believe me, there are many, many people out there who have suffered in pain for a long time. And if you want to be a life coach, the first thing that we need to understand is that all of our adversity then becomes a purposeful event to help us become who it is that we want to be in order to have the best impact for the society and the people around us, especially our families first.
Thank you for your advice, Mr. Rick. And yes, indeed, it happened for a reason. How does gratitude help in turning painful experiences into personal growth opportunities?
The foundation of gratitude. It's an interesting concept, but here's what I do know about it. It's physically impossible to be angry and grateful at the same time. It's
Yes.
physically impossible to be a victim and be grateful at the same time. So, gratitude is the fundamental emotion that life, a life worth having, or a life full of impact, will be predicated on gratitude.
Certainly. So, how can past adversities become a source of purpose or direction in someone's life?
Because there's lessons to be learned in them. So, when you go through the adversity, I'd like to say it like this. This is how I'd like to put it out there. You know, when we when we decide like we want to get healthy, or we want to go into the gym, we want to go in the weight room, and we want to get muscular, we want to build our body, we want to build our physique in whatever way that you think, yeah, is necessary. You cannot build muscle without having uh, weights, without having what's the word I'm looking for? Um, oh goodness, um, the tension that comes along with weightlifting. So without the weights, you cannot build muscle. And weights in the weight room is designed to create that tension so that the harder it is to push, the bigger the muscle that you build. Well, adversity is like weights in the weight room for the mind. The adversities are your weight room. The adversities and challenges are the weights you put on. So, depending on the adversity itself, I would say that losing a son is probably a heavy weight to push. But having pushed that weight now, I can now see clearly that anything is possible when you put your mind in the right space. Instead of being victimized by it, become victorious through it. And that's where I would equate the two the two parallels. Weights in the weight room build muscle, adversities in life build your mind, build your mindset.
So, Mr. Rick, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to one of my audiobooks, people. Audiobooks, Book 101, Review, Volume 3, Suggestions, Book 101, Volume 2, Selected, and Book 101 Review. Volume 1, highly recommended. These are the products of my first season on Book 101 review, and one of my self-help book, Threads of Existence, Waving the Tapestry of Life. Stand tall, stand together, breaking the chains of bullying, and life is too short, a journey of discovery, fulfillment, and joy. And one of my climate change book, Earth Fever, and Reveling Climate, and our race to restore balance, available on Audible and one of the bestsellers. So, Mr. Rick, my last question will be, if someone could take away one core lessons about adversity from your coaching, what would you want it be?
You don't get the life you want, you get the life you focus on.
Mr. Rick Cheatham, thank you so much for sharing your talents to the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your coaching itself?
Sure. You can find me at rickcheatham.com or rick@rickcheatham.com. That's my website. And through there, there's links to Facebook and Instagram.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. Rick Chitman, because if you support him, for sure, more and more and more empowering coaching to come. So, Mr. Rick, thank you so much for your time.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
More to come, people. See you soon.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Rick, and I hope one day you're gonna write a book of what we're talking